Oh,
Hello, Soraya. It's Jeff.
hey, Jeff.
How are you doing today?
Awesome.
So today we're going to try something different. We're going to do a podcast about a live show.
Awesome.
Do you want to tell our listeners what we're doing today?
Yeah, so we're going to be talking about a recent live show at the Federal Bar here in the Los Angeles area on February the 10th of Permanent Green Light.
Yay! And
Former guests of our show.
Yes. And speaking of guests, we're going to have a couple special guests returning to talk about the show with us, and that's Dean and Joy.
I'm so excited about that. The four of us are pretty fun together.
Yes. All right, well, let's get started.
Let's. Hi, this is Soraya.
And this is Jeff.
Our podcast is called Paisley Stage Raspberry and Rhyme.
A podcast where the two of us play music that we like and share anecdotes and background about the tunes.
We hope you'll join our conversation. And without further ado, a groovear.
Let's get groovy. All right, let's add them on.
And Dean.
Hey guys!
The band's all back together again.
Reunited, and it feels so good.
So let's relive the show.
Yes,
I like
do
that,
it.
Dean. Yes.
that's a great idea. So, of course, we're talking about Permanent Green Light live at the Federal Bar in Los Angeles on February 10th. We were all there. But before we get started on that, you guys, I wanted to ask how you guys all learned about or discovered Permanent Green Light. And we'll start with Joy.
Well, I don't think I really discovered them until maybe 2 or 3 years ago, but I was aware of them. I was just a huge 3 o'clock fan, and I was so angry and brokenhearted when they broke up that I was mad. So when I heard that Michael had a new group, somebody must have, I either heard something played on like college radio or somebody, gave me something to listen to, and I couldn't even tell you what song it was, but it was so completely different. And now, of course, we know that that's in a good way.
Yes.
But it was so completely different than the 3 o'clock that I was like, what's this? And I didn't really give it a fair chance. And I was already, I was living in West LA and, involved in the mod scene and things like that on a local level. So I just was busy with all of that, and that's it. And then when they were really playing around, I was, out of school by then and, trying to adult and have a life and, new job and sort of survive that. And so I wasn't seeing very many shows outside of Orange County.
Okay, so you came to the band late, and obviously you didn't see them playing up until the show that we saw.
I did not. Mm-hmm. So when Matt and Chris came into the studio to do the live Luxuria during the fundraising drive for Luxuria Music on Michael Corsio's Consortium radio show, that is when I first met both of them.
Oh, wow.
And, of course, we all met for dinner afterwards, and I think everybody probably met them at that point, but that's where I really fell in love with the music, where I was just like, oh, my gosh, yeah, this is good. And I had been listening to it because I was aware of it now again, and I was like, oh, what is wrong with you? Why didn't you give this a chance when you had, the opportunity to see it live?
Well, I think your story is probably going to be a little bit different than Dean's, because Dean is our resident scenester. He sees everything. So Dean, correct me if I'm wrong, you have to have known about Permanent Green Light. Probably saw them 20 times.
This is going to be embarrassing, and then I might actually tune out some listeners with this, but no, I also wasn't aware of Permanent Green Light when they were happening, and I was thinking about this. It's weird. Like, I was like, what was it? 92, 93. I was looking at what I was listening to, and this is really lame, but I was watching a lot of 120 Minutes. There was, at the time, I think kind of, like before and during the whole Nirvana thing, they actually were showing some bands that were exciting. So like a lot of my exposure was coming from MTV's 120 Minutes, as lame as that sounds, and they weren't playing Permanent Green Light. So, I think like after the 3 o'clock broke up, I just didn't bother exploring or whatever, and I didn't know about them until being at a show and seeing Jupiter Effect, and it might have been like an Poptopia or an IPO show, but Jupiter Effect were on the bill, and I was just floored. I'm like, oh my god, because there was like this great power, this rock, this love of the guitar and power chords and all this stuff, and I was like, oh my god, what has Michael Curcio been up to? And then I went back and I discovered Permanent Green Light. So it was also late in the game.
Oh wow. Quick question, Dean, and we might have talked about this before, but when you mentioned that Jupiter Effect played at an IPO show, was that the one that was at Fay Dodo?
It was a weird place on Melrose that was just east of Vine, and I don't think the place is there anymore. The building's probably torn down. I remember it being this weird old building, and it was in a back room in this building, and part of my mind remembers like a martini glass on the front of the building, but
oh yes, that sounds familiar.
Does that ring a bell?
It does. I don't know what it was called, but that sounds really familiar.
Yeah, so it was on Melrose. It wasn't Fay Dodo, and they were part of the bill, and somewhere in my storage unit, my collection, I have the set list from that night because
oh wow,
I was also collecting set lists at that time.
Very cool.
I still do that. It's a good thing.
Yeah.
All right, Soraya, you got to be the one.
No, my story is similar to Joy's. Love the 3 o'clock, and it was tough when they weren't formed anymore. But I have a vague recollection of someone kind of nudging me. Oh, Michael Curcio, 3 o'clock. Oh yeah, there's this band. And then I remember, obtaining a copy, giving it a listen, and just I think because I was expecting like a 3 o'clock redux. I was kind of expecting something in that vein, and what I heard wasn't that. And I think I just wasn't in that mindset at the time. So I don't want to say that I ignored it, but I definitely didn't give it the attention that it deserved. And now, as I'm listening to Dean and then to Joy and, my story, I feel like we're finally righting a wrong, just over time. Like we're finally giving it not just one listen, but many listens, and there's a new appreciation for it. I also have to attribute, that time. I was in grad school. I was getting my doctorate, and I was just kind of in a different frame of mind, and I stopped going to shows and stopped doing things that I do now. And I think that also probably, like Joy said, I was adulting, and, things just kind of get in the way. But now, similar to Joy, part of the Luxuria Pledge Drive, the band got together, and I was like, wow, who are these people? And wait, what? I had this in my collection the whole time? Let me give it another listen. And it was just, it's fantastic. And, this show happened, and I'm so glad that we're able to correct a wrong of us not going to a show back in the day.
And shout out to Lena Letonwa, too, for getting them together.
Oh, my God.
Do that live show for the Pledge Drive. Yay, Lena.
Yay.
Yes, totally. Credit. What about you, Jeff?
Yeah.
So my story is somewhat similar to you guys in that I did not discover the band until they no longer existed. Like Dean, I did see Jupiter Effect at an IPO show. The one that I saw was at Fay Dodo, and the last were also on that bill. So that was,
wow.
Yeah, it was an incredible show. I had discovered Permanent Green Light from a compilation, the Freedom of Choice compilation, where 90s bands were doing 80s songs, and Permanent Green Light was on there doing the B-52's Hero Worship. And I didn't recognize the first voice, which I learned later was Matt Devine, but Michael comes in later, and I'm like, wait a minute, that's that 3 o'clock dude. So sure enough, I open up the booklet, and I'm like, what? Michael Quercio had another band? So then I went back and I tried to get everything that I could get, which was, a few vinyl singles and the couple CDs, the EP and the full length. And I was like, oh, I've been missing out on these guys, and I wanted to see them so bad. Matt's voice is so incredible, and I think I've told you guys in the past, like, how his voice, like, really touches me. There's, like, an achiness in his voice, especially on a couple songs. That song, when they do that cover, and then also the song Marianne Gave Up Her Hand, like, when I hear his voice, there's just something special about it, and everything is special about Michael. So when I finally went back, I just fell in love with this band, and always regretted the fact that I never got the chance to see them live. So I was really looking forward to it when I heard that this was going to happen. So excited we got to see them.
Yeah, we all had that in common. Isn't that something?
Yeah, that's funny. I thought Dean was going to be the one.
That he was going to one-up us?
Yes.
I'm actually ashamed of myself, man.
You should be.
But I'm glad we're all in the same boat here. So
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about our favorite Permanent Green Light songs. And I'm going to say up front that I'm going to have to cheat and do one song from Matt and one song from Michael. But you guys do as you wish. I'm just asking for your favorite Permanent Green Light song or songs. And we'll start with Joy.
Okay, well, since you're going to cheat, I'm going to cheat as well.
Cheaters.
And I'm going to do one from Michael and one from Matt. So right now, I get obsessive. I love them all. There's not one bad one in the mix. There's not even an iffy one for me. But my obsession right now for a Michael song is Lovely to Love Me.
A demo.
And I did talk to him about that a little bit, and he said, "Oh, it's kind of a play on words," which I totally get. Who runs around saying, "Isn't it lovely to love me, darling?"
Michael.
But if you think about it, it's what we all want. We want somebody to really think that way about us.
Absolutely.
And just the lilt in his voice as he sings, it's just one of my obsessions right now. And then my Matt song is Marianne Gave Up Her Hand. Ooh. And I am a total lyric geek. Lyrics are what really make or break a song for me. And the part that gets me, and again, that like yearning in his voice, I think that's kind of what you're getting at too, Jeff. As he sings, it's just incredible. But there's a line that says, "Oh, I know the band's made out of gold. Oh, the weight on her finger will show after time," because it's about an arranged marriage. And her mother basically picked this guy out for her. And then he goes on to say, "But when the love's not there, nothing can die. He gave her his heart." And then he does this little dramatic pause and says, "She gave him her best." And that just is like, oh, it gives me chills. Yeah. I just love it.
I know the band's made out of gold. Oh, yeah. The weight on a finger will show after time. But when love's not there, nothing can die. She remembers her first love. Can't forget his caress. He gave her his heart. She gave him her best.
Yeah, so those are my two.
Great songs. I mean, like you said, you can't go wrong. Dean, what about you?
Well, so unlike Joy, mine is more, and I'm only going to go with one here, but I am a sucker for a bridge in a song, and I'm like, instead of like the lyrics, a lot of times I find myself connecting to the song, the sound of the song, the power of the song, the structure of the song. And I love We Could Just Die, and I love the way that the song is kind of built around the bridge. You know, the We Could Just Die is the bridge of the song, yet the song completely hangs on that instead of kind of like being that point of the song where, you know, you go through it to get to the next part. So it's also just a really powerful song. And I think that, you know, in looking at it in kind of the context of what he did after the 3 O'Clock broke up and after Vermilion, and I think We Could Just Die was that maybe one of the first songs that came out from them, or I might be wrong about that, but it's a powerful statement. It's a powerful kind of reclaiming of his territory.
Yeah, it is a
Yeah,
powerful.
I like the way you word that. Mm-hmm.
Hello, people, don't say why, but love demands all of your time. And did you ever feel sometimes we could just die like martyrs on the hillside? Sorry for their falling stars, they're loud and sometimes boisterous sighs. The boys on Foster Avenue cry, we could just die.
Yeah, and you're right. That was the A side of their first single that came out in '92. So, Soraya, what about you?
Yeah.
Are you?
Okay.
You're a teacher, so I'm sure you're gonna play by the rules because teachers don't cheat.
Hey, man, I'm off the clock, so I'm cheating. So, you know, for me, similar to Joy, you know, I get in these rhythms. I've been listening to songs, and there are certain things that just appeal to me. And so my choices are based on how I'm listening to it this week. And after seeing the show, you know, there's a new appreciation for certain songs. So, for my Michael song, for me, it's Honestly. This song is just kick ass. This song is just rock, rock, rock all over the place, and it's just loud and fun, and it's so good. So good.
You turn the motor on in a whirlpool. You turned it on in a swell, and so I free you. I believe you. No one ever could deceive you. You belong to me. Honestly.
And for my math song this week, it's Street Love.
Ooh.
And, you know, I'm sure we're going to get into it when we talk about the set list, you know, but there are pieces of this song that just, you know, grab my attention, and, you know, you just got to write it out. Same with Honestly. You know, Honestly is just banging on this. And on the Hallucination CD that came out a couple of months ago, which, you know, parentheses to our listeners, if you don't have it yet, you need this. You need this in your collection. But there's a demo version, and it's just so good.
Mm.
It is just hard rocking. And there's also a demo version of Street Love that, you know, mind blowing.
Come on in, won't ask where you've been. You're the life of the party, but no one's inviting me. I see you, and I know all the things you knew. You haven't decided if you're giving up hiding you. There's only so much I can keep inside. If I tell the truth, it's 'cause I couldn't lie. You said I could be your fine. What could change your mind? Is it street love? Street love.
And then here's my cheat, okay? My students can cheat, I can cheat. So And then my combo song, my written by both Matt and Michael song is You and I Are the Summertime. This song is so indicative and so representative of how I view, that intro to summer. And I, this song to me is just like, I anxiously await when, the end of the school year is coming and my grades are in and like, summer's here. You and I are the summertime. And I post it on my social media, and to me, it's like, it's the perfect intro to a completely different phase of the year for me. And it's just like, I like the spirit of this song. So.
You have the proclamation that summer has arrived.
Oh, yes.
I wait for that post, too. Every year, I wait for that. Every summer.
Oh, my God. And, like, I swear, if I could have that Johnny Cash, that Johnny Cash photo, flipping the bird, and then in the background is You and I Are the Summertime, that's how I feel when I turn in grades. It's like, take that, and now it's time to party and rock and do that. And, like, this song is just so cool. But anyway. Awesome. What about you, Jay?
Sly Stone better step aside. I think there's a new song to introduce summer.
Hell yeah,
and it's not hot fun in the summertime.
Woo!
Indeed.
Two different spirits of summer. But yeah, I hear you, Dean.
All right, so mine, for my Michael song, or my favorite right now, is The Truth This Time. And there's a few things about it. Michael's vocals are killer. And I really like how the song starts, being a guitar player. I like how it starts. Matt's got this muted wah sound, so it's like a waka 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 waka.
I've been told this love is going nowhere.
Just right off the bat, I'm like, yes, I love that sound. But the best part of the song for me is the chorus where it does the, baby, what goes down? I heard the word, you've been around.
Baby, what goes down? I heard the word, you've been around. But I don't believe the truth this time.
Like, everything about that, it just gets me super excited. And then the lead that Matt does has this really killer tone on the guitar. And I love that part. And then lastly, what I'll say about The Truth This Time is that the line where it says, from the one that you've been working over, which I think happens like 2 times, maybe 3 times. The very last time on the over, there's a really high falsetto that if you hear it on earphones, it sounds really, really cool. And it almost has like a, I don't know, like a T-Rex sound or something really glammy. And it's only on that one spot, and I only hear it when I listen to it on headphones. So The Truth This Time for Michael. For Matt, it's Portmanteau. That song I just love. It kicks in with the Spanish guitar part, the acoustic Spanish guitar, and it always reminds me of Love's Alone Again or from their Forever Changes album. And then it kicks in with the electric guitar, and then Matt does that. Yeah. This is another great song to hear. And there's all kinds of like some kind of reverby sound effect that happens mostly in the left channel. It's really cool. And then, of course, I'm not a lyric person, but if there's a song that says old age and syphilis, that's going to spark my interest right there. And then, yeah. Oh, and then there was that one part where Matt sings and he's got like a muted sound on his voice, and it says, I know it makes no difference. Things some people say, you know the reasons why you...
I know it makes no difference. Things some people say, you know the reasons why you wanna heat portmanteau.
That's a really cool effect. And I'm not sure that this has anything to do with this particular song, but I don't know what a portmanteau is or who it is, but I looked it up on Wikipedia, and there was two things I thought were kind of interesting. Wikipedia says, portmanteau word is a logistic blend of words in which parts of multiple words and their sounds are combined into a new word. So, like motel is a combination of motor and hotel, or smog is a combination of smoke and fog. So you're blending two words, and they call that a portmanteau.
Oh, wow.
I don't hear that in the song per se, but another thing I thought was interesting, Wikipedia says that the word portmanteau, the first time that was used in this sense was in the Lewis Carroll book, Through the Looking Glass. And then Humpty Dumpty explains to Alice in the book the coinage of the unusual words in Jabberwocky. He says where slithy means slimy and lithe, or mimsy is a combination of miserable and flimsy. So Humpty Dumpty explains to Alice the practice of combining these words, and that's the first time that portmanteau was used in that sense. So I thought, oh, that's kind of cool. I don't know how that relates to Permanent Green Light song, but that was a rabbit hole I had to go down. Alice's rabbit hole in this case.
Right.
All right.
So is anybody
Silly
interested
me,
in what
actually.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I actually thought it was a place. Like, I better stop looking at the map, because I thought portmanteau was a place when I first saw the
like
title.
portmanteau.
Yeah.
I thought it was a
Putting the map
person.
away.
I thought it was some kind of character. So.
Put away the atlas. So, is anybody interested in what the guys' favorite songs are of their own?
Yes.
All right.
Well, I did ask them. So Chris has two that he thinks is really super fun to play as a drummer. One of them, super obvious to me, is You and I Are the Summertime.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually bits and pieces of this show will come out and everybody will get to see. But if you watch his drumming in this, it's just incredible. Just incredible. And, we'll talk more about the song like as part of the set, but I can see why it's his favorite. And then the other one is the Taylor's Lament.
Oh, wow.
Mm.
And then Matt also likes You and I Are the Summertime, but the one that surprised me is that he really likes Fireman.
Oh.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I asked Michael, and Michael likes them all.
He couldn't pick a favorite.
Well, I wasn't going to come on, buddy, nail him to the cross. But yeah, he says he likes them all.
Wow.
Couldn't pick one.
That's great.
Cool.
Thank you for sharing that. That's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. All right, so let's talk about the show that we went to. Before we start talking about the actual show itself, I wanted to talk a little bit about us going into the show, which I thought was kind of interesting. So my wife, Chris, and I drove our hour and a half to get there, and it was raining that day, so the traffic was a little bit fun on that commute. So we get there, and I think we saw Soraya pulling up at the same time. And then so we called each other, right, Soraya, and we said, okay,
Yeah.
we're here, so let's go get in line. So I think we're about an hour early before the show started. We wanted to make sure that we got in and got good seats. So we lined up at the door, us three, and there was a couple people there, which was some kind of interesting characters, right?
Yes.
Do you want to share
Yes, there were.
Want to share about some of the characters?
I mean, look, it was interesting because I think there was, I mean, on my end, there are enough fans. Oh my God, this place is teeny tiny. It fits about 150. So it's a small, intimate performance space. So we were all just concerned, hey, we're going to have to beat the crowds. We're going to have to get there early. And when we get there, we see a couple of people, but then there were two lines forming, one to the left and one to the right. And on the left said, did you RSVP? Stand over here. And if you didn't, stand to the right.
Right.
So, we had RSVP'd for the event on Facebook. So we said, okay, we're going to be in this one. And then later on, it becomes, there's a person who was number one in the line in the RSVP spot. And he said, no, if you RSVP'd through the mailing list or because you're a member of the mailing list. And so Jeff turns to me and he whispers, don't move. We're staying right here. And it was the better choice. It was the better choice. Because
by then, both lines were starting to form.
Yeah. And what we noticed is that, despite the rain, which came, it would come and go, the line just kept getting longer and longer and longer. And, Dean, I know you showed up, another friend of ours who's part of this kind of music concert going crew of friends that we have. John shows up.
Shout out to John.
Another friend is on her way, Rain. And so, people that we know are showing up, and then we're starting to see this line just kind of expand in two directions. And we were just glad that we were where we were because we knew at least we'd make it in.
Yes.
Then it just became, a run to a seat.
I got a funny little anecdote. So Dean texts us that he's here, that he's parked and he's on his way. And so after about 10 minutes, I'm thinking, where's Dean? He said he was like a minute away. And I look down the row to the non-RSVP line, and here comes Dean walking down. It's like a red carpet. Like, everybody's stopping him, like, all the way down. Like, every single person in line. Like, Dean knows all these people.
It was like old home week there, man. I mean, I had a friend that actually changed her flight so she could go back one day later once she found out that the show was going on. So it definitely had a big energy amongst a lot of us concert-going freaks. And, and like just so many people that I know just from going to shows.
That was so funny. Yeah,
that's so awesome.
So then we all got
I would have loved to seen him work in his crowd.
Yeah, he was working.
Oh, my God. It was a delight.
It was.
Because, he's like he's like the unofficial mayor.
Yeah.
Walking and checking in with his people. It was really cool.
And everybody loves Dean. Not as much as I do, but everybody loves Dean.
Well, I somehow missed the forecast of rain, so I was kind of unprepared for it. And also, I parked because I won't pay to park. I know there's a paid parking lot right there. But I drove around until I found free parking, which was like in a whole other city away. But it was kind of cold.
Oh, yeah, there's no street parking.
Yeah, I was somewhere past Magnolia.
Oh, wow.
Well,
yeah, a few blocks away.
Speaking about the rain, that reminds me how mad I was at Joy. So here we are, all standing in the rain, waiting to get inside, and Joy's bragging about how nice it is inside, because she's inside with the band. So, Joy, you want to tell us about that?
Well, it was an early morning, let me tell you that. We got there at 9 a.m. and in true fashion, of course, Matt was the first one there, and he was already unloading his stuff in the parking lot when I pulled up, and then right behind me was Michael and Lena and Rory, and so we all kind of got there pretty close to the same time, and it was early, let me just tell you. So we get up in there, and there's this lone shoe, like a boot, kind of up next to the stage. And so we're all kind of looking at each other like, what went down here last night?
Wow.
Somebody's doing the walk of shame this morning with like one foot on in the rain. But yeah, so they were just sort of unloading and stuff, and Matt was smart enough to have coffee, so I went with, my friend and then Lena and Rory over to get us all a cup of coffee and get one for Michael, and it wasn't very, I would love to tell you that it was hedonistic and lots of debauchery and back there, but it was 9 a.m. And so, yeah, it was pretty calm, but it's a super nice space back there, and we kept trying to see the crowd because I knew you guys were down there. You guys were all texting and messaging and stuff, and so I kept going to the window, but it was those, ledges that the old buildings have where if you wanted to like jump and be dramatic and go out on the ledge, you could, and that's where everybody was sort of huddled to keep dry, was under this ledge, and so it was hard to see, but I would have loved to have had a picture of it. The guys were just, sure there were, 3 people in line, and that was it.
Nah.
No.
But, yeah.
No, and it was like really, as we were standing in line, I remember I was in mid-conversation with Chris, Jeff's wife, and I heard the sound check, and I literally stopped talking and started dancing, and I was, I'm so ready for this show.
Yes.
And so the anticipation was really high, and people were just buzzing. And it was cool because you'd scan the line in either direction, and you saw people from different bands.
Yes.
Like, you just saw people that played. Oh, there's a guy from the Muffs. Oh, there's a guy from Dream Syndicate. Oh, there's, it was really,
Wednesday
really cool
week.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it was just really cool to see, one, the support, but two, just the outpouring, of people who just really liked this band and wanted to hear this music and were just excited. It was really cool.
It was really cool. Well, then they finally let us in, right? They opened the doors. I wasn't sure what was going to happen.
Mad dash.
Yeah, mad dash. I wasn't sure what was going to happen with us being in the RSVP line illegally, but we got in, and Joy was nice enough to save the front row for all of us, which was awesome.
Yay.
Yes.
And-
So I'm standing there facing the door from, in front of the front row, between the front row and the stage. And it was like a stampede of rhinos.
Yes.
Totally.
Here we come.
Coming up the stairs and like coming, and then they're like, the whole front row was saved. And people were not happy.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like, you know what? I have my consortium. I'm going to save it because I'm not always going to be able to do this. So I took one for the team, guys.
Thank you.
You did.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Because it just made it that much more special.
Yeah.
Well, and I feel like since we were there since the beginning of this reunion, that I really feel like, I hate to use the word deserve because I always feel like people don't really deserve things. They earn them. I really felt like we all earned our place there.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, because we've been there since day one.
Yeah, and there's this one thing, like, and when I've talked about that, I've met a lot of people at shows, is, we did get there early. It wasn't like we came in, that people came in late and expected, like, the doors are open and everything. It's like, hey, where's my front row seat? It's like, it was clearly, there was the love already, like, and people who get in line early are, we know why we're there early. We want the good spot,
Yes.
We do our due diligence for that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
but you mentioned sound check, and I was like in my seat for that, and just like, bring it.
Yes.
And Matt's like, I don't know if you want to sit there. It's going to be so loud. It's going to be so loud. And I don't know. Do you guys remember that old commercial? I can't even remember what like stereo or like speakers it was for, but it was like a guy that had longer hair, and he would sit down in his like leather easy chair, and he'd put his sunglasses on, and then he would turn.
Yep.
Was it Memorex?
It was Memorex.
And
turn the music on, and it would just
move, and then he'd grab it. Yeah.
Yeah, and his hair would blow back, and I'm like, I want that. I'm not moving. I want that. And then I I also wanted to bring up that Matt used his original gig. They used, you know, it's in the very beginning of the band, which was his Marshall half stack and his Les Paul Jr. So it was really like, you know, the most
That's
authentic experience you're going to get.
That is so cool.
That's magical. I love it.
That's really cool that he used the original equipment. Soraya, remember when we were talking to Matt on the Hallucinations episode, he told us that he got a new Fender amp, and I was asking him which amp he would use whenever they had a chance to play, and he said it's either going to be my Marshall or my Fender, but you're going to have to wait and see, because even I don't know right now. So
yeah, I thought it was very cool that he chose his original, because he did just get that. I think during the summer. Yeah, it was like late summer when he got the Fender, and you know, was having a good time turning it up to 10 and beyond, if that's possible. But you know,
that is so cool.
I really liked his decision.
Yes, yeah.
And shout out to Scott, the sound guy, huh?
Yeah,
Brilliant.
Beautiful job.
Yeah.
He did his
sounds
homework
so
during both of those sound checks, and you know, I thought, oh, this is going to be so good, flawless.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned both of the sets. So Chris Price was the opening artist, and man, that guy's got a beautiful voice.
Yes.
Do you guys have any highlights about Chris's set that you wanted to talk about?
Well, I was
backstage for a lot of that, so I'm going to defer to Dean.
Yeah, well, I was really happy when I saw him listed as the opener, because I'm already a fan. I love his voice. I love the way he plays his acoustic like a slide guitar, and he's a really accomplished player. But you know, kind of like Matt, you know, I mean, he's got a really sweet voice. You know, there's something really there's some melancholy in it, and you know, he can rock. And it was a really nice opener. You know, it was acoustic, so you know, he also wasn't gonna compete in that real rock category, but he still rocked with that acoustic guitar. And he did a band song, and I wish I was better with song titles, but he did a cover of something from the self-titled band album that is just stunning.
Yeah, that was really cool. He had mentioned that was from the Wild Honey tribute show, the band show, and I think he said that Susan Calsill sung it at that tribute show, but obviously he sang it at that. And he flip-flopped at the show we saw between the acoustic guitar and an organ that he had like a piano setting on it. Yeah. His set was beautiful.
His sound check was, I was floored. I didn't know what to expect because I wasn't familiar with him. And I didn't go to that Wild Honey show that he participated in, but I do. I hate to misspeak, but I want to say he's involved in this one too, coming up.
I'm sure
he is.
Yeah. February 23rd at the Alex Theater, people.
I'm going to be there.
I was so impressed with him.
Yeah, that was great. So then after Chris's set, Gary Callender comes up, and then he's trying to find out who that lone boot belonged to, which was interesting. And I think they found the person, or somebody knew.
Are you serious?
I think so.
I don't know. It was kind of a joke backstage. He's like carrying it around. I'm like, are you just gonna like carry that all the time? And he's like, I'm thinking about bringing it out on stage with me. And I said, I dare you. And he's like, I'm so gonna do it.
I just kept thinking Ghetto Cinderella. Like, where is she? She's missing this boot.
She's doing the walk of shame. Like I said.
Exactly. So Gary comes up and he introduces the band, and he says, this band only plays once every 25 years. Here's Permanent Green Light. And one thing that my wife pointed out to me is when Matt was walking out, he looks up at the crowd, because by then it was full, and I think it's like capacity of 150 people. Every chair was taken, and there were multiple people standing along the sides and against the walls. Matt looks up and he sees this crowd, and he visibly mouths, wow. Like, you can see, like, he's just surprised that people actually showed up. And not only did people show up, that place was packed out.
Yeah.
So that's
it was packed.
Yeah. So then Michael comes out, and while they're tuning, he says, we're going to collect ourselves for a moment. And then Matt plugs in his guitar and just wails this feedback noise. And Michael's still getting ready, and just this wailing feedback is just going, and it was right then, and I had decided to sit right in front of Matt, because as a guitar player, I wanted to see him play. I wanted to see his fingering on the guitar fretboard. And I've seen Michael play multiple times, and he's always wonderful to see. But this time, I've never seen Matt play. I got to meet him, and I could never picture him playing the guitar riffs that he plays, because I heard the music first, then I met him, and I'm like, wait a minute, looking at you, you look like a cool dude, but you do not look like a rock star that's killing these vocals and killing this guitar part. No disrespect to Matt, but man, it was so cool to sit right in front of him. But when that wailing feedback started, I'm like, this dude is here to bring it. So then...
Boy, did he.
Did he ever, yeah. So then Michael says something along the lines like, Raji's looks different than it used to, doesn't it, Matt? Or something along those lines. And here we are sitting at, noon, drinking mimosas and watching a rock show, right? And then it's at that point that Michael breaks into an a cappella song. Right, Joy?
Yeah, from The Fireman.
Yeah, Fireman, that's right. That's right. And then...
Warm winds are blowing.
Yeah.
And then right after that, Matt kicks in with the guitar part.
Warm winds are blowing. Warm winds are blowing. Warm, warm winds are blowing over.
And it was a song that I was trying to recognize. I know their whole catalog, but this song I didn't recognize. And then as it went along, it started to sound vaguely familiar. And then I was thinking maybe this is a cover. But Joy, you know what the opening song was, right?
Yeah, that was the Taylor's Lament. And back in the day, they used it to open up a lot of their, well, that was their set opener. And so that was sort of like, you know, a nod to, you know, their history. And it was written in the last year or so of Permanent Green Light and, you know, performed live several times, but never recorded because I think it was written after Against Nature came out. So it didn't make it onto anything, but I was just, I have to admit, this is another musical obsession. One that I will stick the headphones in my ears so I don't drive everyone nuts and listen to it like in a loop. I'm so grateful to be able to listen to it because Matt, with his next band, Ventilator, recorded it. And it is on a kind of a hard-to-get CD called Receipt of Spleen by Ventilator. And it's also available on a Japanese compilation called Pop Goes the Weasel Volume 2.
Nice.
So that could be something that you guys look into. But I just thought it was an amazing song to open the set list. You know, not having seen them before, I didn't know that this was part of, you know, what the way they used to, you know, open their sets. But just
yeah,
so
I was kind of and not knowing the song when they opened with the song I didn't know before, I kind of realized at that point that any expectations that I had for the show were going to be challenged right away, and just, I should have no expectations because they're already surprising me because I'm hearing a song, at least for me, I had never heard before. So it was kind of a great reality check that's like, keep your expectations. I think my expectations were in check, but I can't help but have been really excited for it. Mm-hmm. But it was kind of like calm the expectations down. They're going to surprise you.
Yeah,
I will say that my expectations were sky high. I'm not going to be shy about that. I'm not going to lie. But this song, I was like, whoa, what is this? Why don't I know this? What is this? And I'm going through the Rolodex in my brain, like, ding, 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 ding. I can't find this song. I can't find this song. And then I was just like, okay, shut up. Just listen to it. And I was like, it even exceeded my expectations of it. And again, being a lyrics person, I had to ask Matt about it. And, I said, what was your inspiration there? It's kind of like a weird, topic, right? The line, I'll hem that coat. I love the second half of the song where he changes it up a little bit and he says, I'll hem that coat, and then he kind of sneers, I'll tear that lace. I'll hem that coat as I want. And he said, it's kind of like, I'm going to be true to myself. That's like the theme of the song. And that made me appreciate it all the more. And I love it. I love it. I would love to see Permanent Greenlight put that on vinyl. That would be so awesome.
That would be cool. So after the opening track, The Taylor's Lament, Michael flips his hair and says, my hair hasn't been this long since Foghat were together.
My hair hasn't been this long since, I think Foghat were together.
Which I thought was kind of funny. And then they kick into We Could Just Die. So this is Dean's favorite track. And as I mentioned earlier, this was the A-side of their first single, which was called CBMQMD. Stupid me didn't figure it out till 4 months later that that's their initials. So I'm like, what the heck is this? I thought it was some kind of medical term or some kind of chemistry thing.
Some code.
Yeah, exactly. So, and it's also the lead-off track from their 1992 Permanent Greenlight CD. And this song was written by Michael. What did you guys think when they kicked into We Could Just Die? Especially Dean, it's your favorite song. What did you think?
Well, they nailed it. It was like not a missed note on it. And I was definitely. We were talking about before about the commercial where the guy is sitting and his, his hair is blowing. Well, my beard was blowing. I have hair envy with. Michael has got the greatest head of hair, but I sat there and my beard blew back.
It was great.
So good, and I love the snark of that song too. Just the, like martyrs on the hillside, sorry for the falling stars, sorry for their loud and sometimes boisterous. I just love it. It's like, it's got that little bit of snark in it.
It does.
Yeah.
Michael's good at that.
I did ask Michael if it was directed at anybody or anything at the time, but he wasn't kissing and telling, so.
We'll have to get him drunk or something and ask him next time.
Oh, well, that's my next homework assignment.
So then after We Could Just Die, Michael says,
Back in the days of yore, we used to hang out at a place called the Jabberjaw. I look at this place now. And there was a dear soul that used to come there. Actually, she was a woman around town, and sometimes she was walking and sometimes she wasn't, but she was always a very grand, and we wrote this song in her honor.
And then they kick into The Goddess Bunny, which came out on Hallucinations. But I didn't know much about The Goddess Bunny until they talked a little bit about it on our Hallucinations episode. Then I found a documentary about her. But other than that, I don't know who she is or who she was. Do you guys know?
I did, but it's funny, I didn't put the connection together when I saw when I heard the song. I didn't think about it being the same person, but it makes sense because I used to see her around all the time. And, she's definitely somebody that if you see, whether just socially or especially in performance because it's extreme art, extreme performance. You will never forget seeing the Goddess Bunny. There's just no way. So it was really interesting to put that connection that, oh yeah, wow, that was somebody I remember seeing around town a bit.
So where did you see her at?
Like at shows, and she actually helped out one of our events once where I work, and was a volunteer.
Oh wow.
And yeah, so I think that might have, that would have been about 94, 95. So this would have been after the PGL scene, but she definitely was a local, somebody you would always see.
That was one thing that's cool about Hallucinations is there's the few songs that we hadn't heard before, like Lovely to Love Me, and this song that was recorded but never released. So it was really neat when Hallucinations came out and we got to hear those new songs, in addition to the completely killer remastered versions of everything else. But I thought that this live version at the Federal Bar, holy smokes, it was so good. It just sounded great to me.
Well, I thought you bought that on vinyl.
The Goddess Bunny?
Mm-hmm.
No, not the Goddess Bunny. No, not this one. But if it is on vinyl, I would like to find it.
Yeah. I thought it was somewhere. I thought it was on something.
Not that I'm aware of.
Maybe I'm wrong.
I could be blacking out, but I don't believe I have that one. And this song was written by Michael, which is kind of cool. So then after Goddess Bunny, they kick into Soraya's song, Honestly.
Dang. And this is like, so they kick into Honestly, and then it's followed by Street Love. So it's this 1-2 punch, high energy, serious rocking, right in the middle, and it's just like, woo, if Dean, your beard was blowing, I don't know, my earrings, my hoops were blown back or something, but.
They were, I meant to tell you, I think one of them flew into my beard.
He's starting a new fashion trend with it.
It was wild. It was just so cool. And then it was just to watch Matt rock that song. I mean, that guitar was singing.
Yeah. I described that lead.
I loved how Michael growled kind of the first line.
Oh, yes.
You turn the motor, and then on was almost like a growl. I just loved it. It was like going 95 on the Autobahn with the top down, and then when he outstretched his arms like that, and
yes,
you guys got to go to the Permanent Greenlight Facebook page or our Instagram page and see that epic pose taken by the lovely Julie Lynn.
Oh my gosh. So in this show, we see Michael Curcio leap like Townsend. Okay, you know that.
Yes.
That leap with the open legs. I mean, and then during this song, you just see that head banging with that beautiful long hair of his. Oh my God, it was so cool. And then, can we just discuss Chris Bruckner on this song?
Wow.
Chris is drumming on this song, and it. Joyce said it before, like he's got jazz hands when he drums.
Little jazzy hands.
Jazzy hands. You just see these arms just going back and forth, and it's so. Like, you look at his face, and he's just like, there's this sang-froid about him. He's like calm, cool, collected, and those arms are just going wah, all over.
I know, so relaxed. It reminds me of Billy Zoom a little bit when he plays guitar.
Right?
Yeah.
Like he does all this intricate crap, and he's sitting there so relaxed with a smile on his face.
Yeah.
That's Herr von Bruckner for you, still.
That's a perfect analogy. Yeah, because he is. It does seem effortless, and he just, it's like we really. How are those crazy sounds coming out of this?
Yeah.
But it doesn't look like what he's doing is creating that intensity.
Mm-hmm.
And that chaos that is so brilliant. I love it.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
And it resonates with what Jeff was saying initially about, meeting Matt and going, huh, is this that guy? And then you just go, holy, yes, that dude. You have this one perception and then they just annihilate it. And, Chris just seems so, just totally chill. And he is just banging on those drums and it's just fast and furious. I loved it. All of them. Michael was ridiculously good in this song, but it was such a cool version, and I'm so glad I was there to see it live. Oh,
that was really good. I described the lead that Matt played on the song as scorching. Like he just
totally.
brought it on that. So this song was written by Michael, and this was the lead-off track from their 1993 Against Nature CD. And I don't know if this was the one that you were talking about, Joy, but I think you were the one that told me that I could get this song on vinyl on the Gasatanka Rough Stuff 7-inch EP. So
yeah, is that what's on that? I just ordered that again because I'll just tell a beware to the listeners. You can find it. But the place that has most of them is they've got several, but it's in Spain, and so they don't like to pay a lot for shipping, and so they don't pack them very well. So when I finally found this, I was so excited, got it, and it was broken in two. So I just did find it again and ordered it, and it started tracking today, and I think I'll have it by Friday. So you can get it,
yep.
But it's not all that common.
Yeah, so for all you vinyl nuts and Permanent Greenlight fans, I highly recommend you trying to track this down because honestly sounds killer when you drop the needle on that 7-inch single. Really cool. So after Honestly, Michael says on guitar, the wonder that is Matt Devine. And then they kick into Street Love, like Soraya mentioned.
On guitar, the wonder that is Matt Devine.
And Street Love was written by Matt, and it's the second track off the 93 Against Nature CD, and it's also the B-side of You and I Are the Summertime single, which is kind of cool. Mm-hmm. So Street Love was smoking.
Yeah, another example of really great lyrics.
Yes.
You're the life of the party, but no one's inviting me. And I just love that, and I feel like it's kind of about somebody who is kind of in a lopsided relationship, and so this is one of those songs that you write out of frustration, and you're saying all these things, but it's really not how you feel about the person, but you're so pissed that they're not, giving you, the respect or whatever you need. And he goes on to say, what I feel for you, I could easily throw away. And so, I was talking to him, gosh, a long time ago, right after I got the CD, and I was like, dude, what's up with this lyric? I love it. I love this lyric. And he's like, oh gosh, it's so mean. How could you like that? He goes, I would never write a lyric like that today. But I'm like, no, I totally get it. He's like, so into her or whatever, and then she's treating him like crap. So he's just like, you know what? I'm gonna get even and say this,
Oh my gosh, it's pretty hard. It's a hard saying. So after Street Love, Michael says,
another song about one of our old friends. I don't. Is he here? Well, if he's here, you'd know he was here. Wouldn't they? Yeah, they'd know he was here. On the drums, Chris Bruckner. He's here. On the busy drum, Michael Percio. I don't think he needs an introduction.
and then they go into Ballad of Paul Kay.
This is a really lovely song.
It's
like
so
how they play it, it's masterful. It's really pretty.
And
I like the song a lot.
The Wine and Conversation chorus was so cool.
It's hypnotic, right? It's just, I like it.
And this is another song.
And their harmonies, their vocal harmonies on that. The differences in their voices, but the blending of different voices. I mean, I was remarking on their voices harmonically before just, watching it. But to me, like the Ballad of Paul Kay really just, and honestly also, but the Ballad of Paul Kay and Honestly were really perfect blendings of two different voices. And going back to like an X analogy, like sometimes like with John Doe and Xene, they're such different voices, but they create this perfect sound that you can't imagine separate. And I really love their voices together.
Yeah. And I thought it was, to your point, Dean, I thought it's really cool on the part where it's the one part where Matt sings by himself and he does the wine and conversation. And then Michael joins him right afterwards. And the fact that Matt does it by himself and then Michael comes in, just that moment of that song on the recording, but I had the same feeling watching them do it live. It's just so powerful and their voices are just great together. And that's a great analogy with the X analogy. When they're singing together, it just sounds so killer. Another song that Michael wrote, and it's the third track from the 92 Permanent Greenlight CD. And I thought it was, and we were talking earlier about Chris Bruckner's drum style. On this song, he was doing a bunch of drumstick twirling, which I thought was kind of cool to see the flair that he was throwing in there. It was pretty fun. Pretty fun to watch. And then at the end of the song, Michael looks back at Chris and he says, "You were supposed to bring the wine, Chris," which, as we know, since we joined them for a few meals, that he's the wine guy.
Oh, yeah.
He is the wine guy. He's a total wine guy. And then let me tell you, because he's the wine guy, if you go like over to his house or something and you say, well, what can I bring? And he'll tell you wine. And it's like, I don't know if I can live up to your expectations.
So is $2 Chuck
terrible.
Good? $2 Chuck is okay,
No,
right?
$2 Chuck, man. I'm telling you, I'm like, reading up on all these wines and what the scores mean and everything, and
that's hilarious. Wine and conversation. Wine and conversation indeed. So then the next song is Joy's favorite, Lovely to Love Me.
Yeah, wasn't it pretty? I just love it. I can't say enough about it, but
Yeah.
swoon.
Literally, swoon.
Literally. Poor Dean. I was swooning all over him. I was like, oh my God, can you believe this? And digging my fingernails into his arm, like, ah!
Dean's still bruised on his right side.
He's so bruised.
It's worth it.
So this song, of course, is the 4-track demo that was on Hallucinations, that song that Michael wrote. After Lovely to Love Me, he says,
Okay, every decent power pop band from the 70s had a boogie song. Don't you think, man? It's an ugly secret with some people.
Stones. They like the Stones better than the Beatles.
So in honor of that, we came up with this one. I guess it kind of boogies. It doesn't go on long enough to be a proper one, but we'll try.
and then they kick into Wintertime's A Coming Martha Ray.
Which basically means, because in the 90s she did those Polident denture paste commercials was on constantly. That, you think the winter time of your life, I mean, it's about her being old, and it's coming, Martha. At least your dentures will be in place, though.
That's hilarious. Yeah, this was the one song I kept thinking, it's so cool watching these guys, and here we are all seated, and my body just wanted to jump up and start dancing. Like, it had such a power in it, and the beat was so strong that I wish we could have been in a club where we were all standing. So I'm hoping one day that we get to stand in front of this band in like a standing venue and we get to just totally rock out.
Yeah, that'd be cool. And if you follow the Permanent Greenlight pages, I posted
a live show.
From the live show, Wintertime's A Coming Martha Ray, and also Honestly, that was recorded by Kelly Cowan and Don Williams, and just sounds like so professional. So if you really want a taste of what it was like to be there, check those out. Those are great.
Very cool. Thanks, Joy. And this is the third track from their 1993 Against Nature originally. They ended the set lists with 3 songs that were collaborations between Michael and Matt. This is the first of them. And after this one, Michael says, we'd like to leave you with a message. And they kick into Soraya's proclamation of the summer. You and I are the summertime. And on this one, they did a crazy freak out ending, right?
Yes.
Yeah, they did.
I mean, and so this song is just hard rocking anyways, and it grabs you. And then they put in this kind of cool, funky improv where they all were kind of improvising and kind of doing their thing. But it was, like Dean said, it all just fit together. There was this real harmony of the sound as well as the voices, but so Matt's going off on this guitar, Michael's going off on the bass, Chris is going off on the drums, and I remember thinking, this isn't like jazz improv where they're just kind of going with the flow. That's how it looked to me, right? And it just sounded beautiful.
Yeah.
You compared Michael to, performances of The Who or whatever, and in this one he drops to his knees, and it just reminded me of Jimi Hendrix, like trying to summon up, like the guitar demons, It was just very cool. I mean, if honestly cranked us up to 95 on Autobahn, this one cranked us up to well over 100 easily.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. It's really cool to hear how intuitive they are playing with each other, because they hadn't played, on stage in, what they said, 25 years. And, a lot of the set really, I felt like, oh my God, they rehearsed. They didn't just, this didn't feel like a one-off, but then they could just turn it around and say, look, this is why we can do it. We gel, I mean, the three of them, when you watch them jam at that end, you can see that they have that communication that other musicians, that not all musicians have with other people, and 25 years later, they picked it up right there, and it's like, they connected. And that jam at the end just, it was worthy of The Who. You mentioned The Who. I think that was like totally worthy of The Who jam out.
Yeah, I thought
that was very cool.
The funny part was that it was such a crazy, insane ending, like totally rock ending. And then at the end of the song, Michael walks up to the microphone. He's like, wait, what? Like,
and we're all destroyed in the chairs, like in good ways, but we're all sitting there destroyed by this assault,
Yeah, like,
he's like, bye, y'all.
What just happened?
Yeah.
No, don't go away. Bring us more.
Well, speaking of that, so we kept cheering, right? And they did come back for one final encore. And that was All For You, another song that's co-written by Matt and Michael. And it's the 10th track on their 93 Against Nature. What did you guys think of this as an encore song?
That was an interesting choice for an encore, that after tearing it down like that, All For You was really reflective, and it was kind of like a little, like an after dinner mitt kind of thing, It's like, now just...
Yeah, it was like a little love note, I thought.
Yeah,
it was like a little love note. We do this all for you.
Yeah.
It was a sweet ending.
This is another one where, you guys were talking about this is like a marriage of two lead singers' voices. It isn't just like a lead singer and like, backup singer. These are two lead singers that their voices, when they like, come together, it's just amazing. And I really hear that in this song.
Agreed. Yeah, I mean, some bands come out, their encore song is just over the top, just rock craziness, right? And this wasn't that at all. It was more like like you guys said, like a love song, like an after dinner mitt. So it was really cool, and it sounded great. So overall,
it did.
To me, like this show, like met and exceeded every expectation that I had, and it was wonderful, total rocking show that I'll never forget. This show.
Me neither.
How lucky we were.
Yeah, how lucky we were.
Yeah, we were so lucky, and for me to be able to make sure that we all got to experience it from the front row. I mean, I just felt like that really added a lot, and I don't know, it was just so great to be right there, like right there to witness it. And as big as the attendance was, Gary Calamar did say it was their biggest attendance yet.
Wow.
For the Mimosa music series. Chris, interesting enough, said that it felt very intimate for him because when he came over, came out to the drums and sat down, he was able to look through the crowd and not just see faces that, people he knows really well, but to pick out faces that he remembers seeing 25 years ago.
Oh, wow.
That's cool.
So, and you wonder like, well, what kind of like energy you get from the crowd or whatever. And he said the energy was incredible, but to be able to sit and pick out those faces, it was something special. And I just have a little story to tell you about after the show, if I may.
Please.
I popped out of my seat and ran back there, and I was just, almost overcome. And so there's like a big room back there, but then there's kind of a smaller room where they keep all their, stuff. And so I run back there, and Matt and Michael are having this conversation, this very low-key conversation. Well, what did you think of that guitar solo that I put in? Oh, yeah, Matt, I really liked that. It was great. I was able to follow along really easily with my bass, and it was really cool. Well, you liked that, huh? It was a little something I worked on at home a couple times, and I just thought it sounded really cool. Yeah, it was really cool. And I'm like, what? You guys even know what you just did? Do you know what you just did out there? And you're having this little conversation? Wow. And they looked at me and I said, I'm gonna cry. And my voice even started to crack. I said, I am so like filled up with like happiness right now, and my eyes are tearing. I have tears in my eyes.
Yeah.
And just as I said that, Jeff Packman walks back there, and he was the original owner of Rockville Records that helped put out the early permanent Greenlight stuff.
Right. And
he's like, you guys, my eyes are full of tears. I'm tearing up. And I was like, see? And they're just like, wow.
So he was there?
So I know it wasn't just me. And he was he's a guy, and his eyes are tearing up and he's choked up.
Wow.
It was just really, really something special.
Wow.
Magic.
Yeah. So I was going to say that after the show, it just felt like there was tons of energy in the room, like all positive energy, like everybody was glowing. I mean, there was an afterglow after the show. You talked about the after dinner man. There was also an afterglow, I felt like, amongst those of us who had the opportunity to witness that. So did you guys want to say any last things about the show? Any final thoughts?
Well, everybody I talked to after was also just like, I didn't talk to anybody who was like, oh, that was okay. It was that everybody I talked to was kind of feeling a lot of what we just expressed. It was special. It was exciting, and may I add, it will be a shame if that's all that they're going to offer us. But I'm happy. If that is it, I'm happy I saw it. But for all of that, I'm hoping we're going to get some more.
I'm with you, Dean. I'm with you.
Yeah.
So I sure hope so.
I hope so too. But so Joy, I wanted to ask you. You manage the band's social media pages. Is there anything that you could share with our listeners to point them in the direction of those pages?
Well, we're Permanent Greenlight on Facebook and Permanent_Greenlight on Instagram, and come give us a follow. We'll be, you'll see lots of pictures, and those video clips are on there, and we'd love to have you come and follow us and join our journey.
And I'm sure if there's ever another show or possibility of shows that you'll let us know through those pages.
That is where you're going to see it first. Awesome. Also, if you're interested in ordering Hallucinations, which should be essential listening for everybody, it is in the link in our bio on the Permanent Greenlight Instagram page, and it's several places on the Facebook page. But basically, you can go to omnivore.com, and they have it there.
Shout out to Omnivore for having the good taste to put it out, because that label does some great things, and it's just another, like, all the game theory stuff they put out, they're doing some incredible stuff, and they're putting them back in the permanent green light back in the light, which is where they need to be.
Exactly.
Right.
Yep.
Where they deserve to be. Yep.
And shout out to Pat Thomas, who produced that
100%.
Hallucinations. We're going to be talking to him in about 3 weeks, so we'll be talking to him about him putting that project together. He also put together the Ladies and Gentlemen, the Bangles on Omnivore also. So
Pat works his butt off, let me tell you, and he worked his butt off for this hallucinations thing to happen. He and Matt tirelessly and got this thing from start to finish. It was like a whirlwind, but man, once they decided that, you know, this is what was going to happen, it took off, and so good. And I'm so glad it happened that way. And, you know, Pat is huge friend of the band, and yeah, we love Pat.
we do too.
Yeah.
So we're looking forward to that. So our next episode, Soraya, we're going to be talking to Tom Stevens of the Long Riders. We're going to be talking to him about their newly released album, Psychedelic Country Soul. We'll also be talking to him about the Long Riders reissues and a little bit about his solo project. So I'm looking forward to that.
Gonna be fun.
Gonna be fun.
Thank you, Dean. Thank you, Joy. As always, it's
You're
awesome
welcome.
having you here. But more than anything, thank you for just bringing all your insight
Yes.
and passion to this discussion. It's, as always a pleasure.
Cool.
Thank you for
Pleasure.
inviting
Pleasure
us.
All right, you guys.
See you guys at the show.
All right.
Yes. Thank you
Night,
so
guys.
much.
Lovely people.
Good night.
All right.
Bye.
Good night.
So, Soraya, that was fun.
You know, it's now I want a time machine. I want to go back in time,
Yeah, that was
and I want to
such a
go
good show.
sit back at the Federal Bar and you know, watch that show all over again. It was just so good, so stinking good.
It was really good.
Oh my gosh.
I gotta say, reliving it, talking through it right now, I got all that excitement over again.
Right?
Not exactly
Right?
like being in the room, but I feel it. I feel it all again. How great it was sitting there experiencing that. As Dean said, we were truly lucky to be able to
Yeah.
see that.
You know, I was following the post after the show on the Permanent Greenlight page on Facebook, and there were people that say, you know, wow, I missed it, or oh, come to, you know, my city. And that's where it kind of hit me, where I said, you know, I really saw something extraordinary. I saw something extraordinary
Yes.
today, and I'm fortunate to have seen it, and it was really a wonderful show. I mean, Michael Curcio just, I mean, he took that room and just he tore it apart.
Absolutely.
Matt Devine and Chris Bruckner too. I mean, the three of them together were just a magical force, and it was a lot of fun to watch, a lot of fun to hear. And, you know, I just feel really, really fortunate. I was there with so many other people that shared that sentiment. So it was cool.
I couldn't say it any better. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully we could do this again and talk about more live shows.
That's what I like.
Yes. All right.
More.
Well, that's it for this one.
Yeah. Well, you know, folks, get Permanent Green Light record CDs or downloads, because your ears will thank you, your heart will thank you.
Yes.
All right. So on that note, gente, a groovear.
Groove on, Paisley people.
Later.
Tone telephone to use this service. You will be charged 95 cents a minute. If you are under 18, please get your parents' permission. If you do not want to be charged, hang up now. Enter a 4-digit access code from a current issue of Sassy magazine. Permanent Green Light from the release entitled Against Nature on Rockville Records. To make another selection, enter the star button.